Hard choices for the upcoming budget. One of the hard choices the government is not going to make is raising the pension age from 65 to 70, but that will leave a big hole in this budget and future ones. I'm joined by Robert Carling for the Centre for Independent Studies. Robert, what difference would it make, though, to raise the pension age, do you think?
I think that if they did that, it would only be phased in over quite a long period. I mean, it's currently already legislated to go up to 67, but it won't get there until, I think, 2023. So any increase to 70 would presumably be even after 2023. So any savings from that change would be a long way off. It's important to make those long-term savings, but I'm just saying they're not going to help the budget next financial year.
So would it make a big difference, though, to actually push that age to 70 and push it much quicker?
Look, the potential savings to the budget from that are large, but I don't think that any government would make that change quickly. I mean, people have planned for their retirement in particular ways, and to spring that change on them quickly would be quite unfair and probably politically a non-starter. So I think it would only come in slowly.
What about other alternatives in terms of, say, putting a means test on a family asset rather than keeping that outside the superannuation pool?
Well, one possibility is to tighten up on the asset test. At the moment, couples can have, I think, as much as about $1.2 million, $1.2 million in assets in addition to their own home before the pension cuts out completely. And that was liberalised under the Howard government. So it means that there's this very, very wide range of level of assets over which the pension phases out. They could lower that ceiling so that it cuts out earlier. That would save money. They could make the family home itself subject to the means test. Is currently excluded. I think that would be much more contentious and more difficult for any government to do. Then there would be major administrative difficulties in doing it also.
Do you think it's unfair, though, that retirees can be sitting on $1.2 million worth of property and yet still take the pension? I mean, doesn't that shift the burden away from wealthy Australians and onto poorer ones?
Well, yes, it does. There's no doubt about that, but it's difficult. If you're talking about the family home, it's difficult to make a change that would, in effect, force people to sell up and move to somewhere cheaper. Now, there are other possibilities, such as surrendering a share of their equity in the home year by year, rather than having to liquidate their home as an asset. And the various people have talked about that possibility of equity sharing by government in the value of the home, and then the government doesn't get that share of the equity until the person either sells up or dies.
And finally, Robert, I mean, how likely are we to see any real change politically? Because it seems like both parties are very, very wary of upsetting that huge bulge of the population who are the boomers who are just retiring.
I think that as far as the eligibility age is concerned, that may well be politically doable. The Labor government did it, or has announced it, to go up to 67, and there didn't seem to be any great backlash in public opinion against that. Now, obviously, the further up you go, the more likely there is to be a backlash, but I think they could probably get away with 70. As far as the assets test or the means test is concerned, yeah, that would be more difficult. But we must remember that if you tighten the assets test, the amount of pension that people with $1 million in assets are receiving is not very large. They're more interested, I think those people are more interested in qualifying for the health care benefits than the pension itself. So that would probably be more contentious.
Robert Carling from the Centre for Independent Studies, thank you very much.
You're welcome.